I think there are several opportunities for young people to get into the industry today, but I do think that it's probably increasingly harder. I mean, it seems to me now, having spent some years working in television, that it's an ever increasingly popular career to have, and there's such a proliferation of media courses now that clearly there's a desire for people to break in.
There are economic sacrifices to be made, really, but if you want it, you'll sort of hopefully kind of look at those hopefully short-term economic sacrifices, and hopefully long-term, if you keep at it, it does start to pay off at a certain point. But yeah, it's incredibly difficult if you're not from the kind of background where there's that kind of financial net, definitely.
I think that there are opportunities for young people, but there aren't many, is the first thing I'll say. And I think that as a young person kind of starting out in this industry, and certainly in broadcasting, and I think in the media in general, although of course, I mean, I only really know broadcasting, you've really got to work for your opportunities. And when you are given a kind of a glimmer of light, you've really got to make the most of it.
There's still like a massive kind of groundswell of people like wanting to make films and wanting to sort of direct and work in television, work in film. So it is still very competitive, but at the same time, there are a lot of opportunities out there.
I'd say be really determined, and don't be afraid. I think it can be a very intimidating place to start a career because, as I say, there's no formal career path or training structure. So I think a lot of young people are a bit bewildered and don't know quite where they're going, and that might make them shy to talk about their ideas and talk to senior people. Whereas in my experience, senior people are always keen to listen to someone with bright, good ideas. So I'd say be confident and unafraid.
There are definitely opportunities out there, but you certainly do have to look for them. I think there are definitely some great programs out there. From doing a little bit of research, I know people like the RTS have a scheme. We've got a great internship program here, a very successful one. I know a lot of other studios do and other media companies do, but they're not necessarily advertised, which I think maybe is a good thing, because the onus is then on you to go out. If you really are interested, if you've decided this is the career you want to pursue, you do have to do a little bit of detective work and some kind of application process and interview process in order to basically become accepted as part of these schemes.
You need to be tough, but not arrogant. I'm not saying arrogant or rude or anything, but just in yourself tough, because you will get knocked down quite a bit, because obviously it is, as we were saying, everyone wants to do it for some reason. Well, the reason is because it's quite enjoyable. Yeah, you've got to be tough, and I think that you've got to be a good communicator. There's no you can't be really quite wiltering flower. It won't get you anywhere.
I think there's a lot of opportunities out there, a lot of different big corporations as well as smaller independents all have opportunities out there. They're not always easy to find, and quite often they're oversubscribed, but I think the system naturally filters the good people through, and if you're determined to get in and to work hard and you know where you want to go, then you can go all the way.
I suppose in terms of other opportunities, I think that it's great that Channel 4 has various schemes and the BBC has various schemes. I wonder if perhaps more could be done at the independent production companies to allow people greater access. And I think that I'm not really aware of what sorts of mentoring schemes are out there, but I think those would be another useful way for people to access creative talent and actually gain a real insight into how things work.
Certainly, if you know somebody, like nearly all of the employment done here is through personal recommendation, because it's so important you get the right people. But I think to get into television, you just have to, everyone has to work really hard, So even if you do know somebody, that's great. You might be able to get in there at the bottom, but you can't stick your way to the top.